Another advantage of autism is hyperfocus. Now, what I mean by hyperfocus is a moment when your mind enters a sort of flow state when you're invested in a particular activity or task. Now, that can be absolutely anything. Anything from cleaning your house to studying for some homework to, I don't know, fulfilling whatever your quota is for whatever job you do during the day. If you're an artist or you're a very creative person and you have a project that you want to finish, absolutely anything. Even things like video games, so more like leisurely activities that aren't really considered, or you might not consider work. Now, that happens with loads of people. Loads of people enter a sort of state of hyperfocus. But for people with autism, it's a very common thing to happen when the task or activity that they're engaged in is something specifically related to something they're really interested in. So they don't just feel like they have to get it done and they're in a good mood and they're in a good state of mind. It's something they are already interested in achieving, in doing or completing or whatever it is. That's why I brought up the creativity thing, because it's known lots of people with autism tend to be quite creative. Now, in my case, I've entered states of hyperfocus when it comes to studying, especially on subjects I'm really interested in. I completed a course in my for uni on the classics, and I learned ancient Greek and Latin. And in both those, there were certain times when, not only because of my state of mind, but because I actually enjoyed the subject, I was flying through activities, learning word after word, and within an hour, my intelligence in terms of the subject had skyrocketed. There was a lot more I'd known now than I did an hour previous. But it also helps with things like productivity. So a lot of the time, people with ADHD and autism can procrastinate or find it really hard to like initiate tasks, get them going. But when that task is something you're interested in, it's a lot easier to do because it doesn't feel like work. And then it's a lot easier to enter into hyperfocus. So that's why it's an advantage of autism. But the problem with that is, despite it being an advantage, because of course it's an advantage if your productivity or your ability to learn is increased, an issue with that is it doesn't come in handy with everyday situations or subjects. And sometimes, depending on what your interests are, it can be really hard as you get older to turn that into something, I don't want to say worthwhile, but something productive in terms of a life goal or a career choice. Now, I knew a boy once whose obsession was he loves lizards, right? He's absolutely obsessed with reptiles and lizards. But when it came to normal schoolwork, like maths and English, it wasn't that he was bad at it, it's just he wasn't entirely invested. Anything to do with lizards, anything at all, and he was flying through it, he was invested, he was there, he was engaged. But when it came to things like, well, like I said, math, English, science, certain sciences, of course, because anything to do with lizards he was invested in, he would find it really hard to stay motivated or to keep all the information that wasn't related to the thing he was interested in. And what that happened is it caused a bit of a situation in the school where he was put in a special class because they believed, in terms of his learning difficulties, it's hard to say because the education system needs a bit of an overhaul. I'll just say that in this case, they kind of considered that he was a bit dumb. They considered that he wasn't capable of learning at the degree that other students were. The issue wasn't that he couldn't learn things. It's just he didn't want to learn certain things, or he found it hard. He knew the basics, and he didn't know why he needed to know anything more than that. What happened was one teacher took notice of this and actually got him a form for a young volunteer situation at a reptile centre. And I haven't heard much since about him because obviously it's been years since then. But from the last thing I heard was he was doing really, really well. He was talking to the volunteers and it was something he was hoping to go into as a career. In which case, not only is he doing something that he loves, and he's interested in, but it means he'll excel in that field, and it means that he'll be happy. So, and it means that all the pressure from school times, it was kind of unnecessary because he did find the area he fits into. That's the difficult thing when it comes to hyperfocus and intense interests with autism, because you want to be able to engage them, you want to keep them going. You don't want to just fall flat on them, you don't want to be pushed into a situation or a career choice or a pathway for life where you actually feel miserable or you feel out of place. Now, in my case, I'm working really, really hard these days to go into something that I'm really interested in things where I feel hyperfocus happening all the time, like writing books. When I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. It is literally like tunnel vision. That is what hyperfocus is for people with autism. It's like everything else fades away. A lot of time it also causes situations where people think you're being ignorant, but it's not that you're being ignorant, you're just finding it hard to distract yourself. You're actually finding it difficult to be distracted for a change, whereas the rest of the time you're probably not entirely aware, and you can come across a bit scatterbrained or a bit eccentric, I suppose, because your attention it keeps switching from place to place, especially if you have autism and ADHD. But like me. But when it comes to things like that, it's just you're in that moment now that you are so focused on the task, you cannot be distracted from it. It's not hard for you to keep your attention, it's hard for you to be distracted. So everything else, if someone's talking to you, even if you know they're there, even if they're talking to you, you don't want to respond. You really don't want to, because you are in the zone right now. You want to be left alone. In fact, there are times when I've been in that state of mind and someone's come along and talked to me or told me something important, and I've become quite snappy, and I apologize afterwards because I know it's not fair to be snappy, but it's how I feel. It's almost like intense rage all of a sudden because I want to be in that field. I want to be in that state of mind. But yeah, as an overall, it is an advantage of autism though, because it does mean that you can excel in your learning, and a big misconception is autism is actually, it means that you can't learn or it's incredibly difficult for you to learn. And the issue is, no, it's more like you are going to excel in things that you want to learn. That's the difference. Everything else doesn't seem so as necessary to you. But anything to do with math or basic subjects like English or science that at all relates to the thing you're interested in, boom. Yeah, it's just, you're going to be interested in that. You're going to learn that aspect about it, but you won't want to learn about all the rest. And I think, to be honest, it's pretty fair. So, no, but that's all I wanted to say about hyperfocus. That's what it is. That's what it feels like, literally like tunnel vision. And honestly, every time I enter it, leave me be. Leave me in that space, because I want to be there. Now, that's all I have for this episode. Now, if you're interested in this video, if you liked it, then please leave a like. Otherwise, follow me on the channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well if you're interested. If you have any thoughts or opinions on what I said about hyperfocus, then please put them in the comments. They're all welcome. Any experiences at all, questions also, or any requests for future videos, anything you want me to discuss in relation to ADHD, autism, or even just random questions, to be honest, like what's my favorite color, I'll answer them. And besides that, repost the video just because it helps the channel, and it helps raise awareness and so on and so forth. And aside from that, I think I'm done. So in general, I just hope that you have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye!